Tired of the Packers. That run defense. Putrid.
Having the worst kind this season. I'm 8-8. Why are you yelling?
I got to charge up for these 20 minutes. I got to be excited for the AFC East. Ian told me. Let's go! Woo! Ah! Dolphins!
Dolphins! I don't know what we're yelling about!
Dolphins!
I'll tell you what. You do know what you're yelling about. What you're yelling about, Chris Cody.
No, that was just a line from 40-year-old. Was it 40-year-old Virgin or Anchorman?
Anchorman.
Miami Dolphins! Woo!
The December Stugotz. I can't believe I'm saying it.
The Miami Dolphins!
10, 11 games into what is now a 17-game season for the first time in 20 years. This has to be the first time in 20 years. At the top of the AFC East, there will be meaningful December football, and none of us expect the Patriots to be a factor in it.
Games that matter. Games that matter. Yeah.
20 years.
How about us?
But seriously, we've been talking about Fitzpatrick has gone from being the guy the Patriots always beat to now announcing the games on a totally different streaming service. The Patriots for 20 years have dominated this division, and the Bills and Jets and Dolphins are doing what had to be done to give us December AFC East games. Now, if they can just keep Tua from getting murdered or sawed in half on the field.
Yep.
If he can just make me stop worrying about his death on the field. Honestly.
That Teron Armstead injury hurts. That hurts going into at San Francisco and then at the Chargers and then at the Bills. No, it's scary. It's scary. Those defenses without Teron Armstead in there to protect his, I guess, not blind side, his normal side. But either way, that injury hurts. And if the Dolphins don't look the same, it's because of that.
What is the non-blind side? Is it the normal side? Is that what it is?
It's just the side.
The scene side.
Default
The
side.
the side he's looking at. Yes, the lefty quarterback. What we've noticed this year, I do believe that this is part of the analysis that we've missed while fawning over the Dolphin offense, which is, man, when Armstead's in there, Tua's got a ton of time. Like, it seems like every time Armstead is in, that no one gets anywhere near Tua, and he's just sitting back there like he was for 300 yards in the first half, and then Armstead gets hurt, and you're like, oh my God, it's a turnstile. Nobody's going to be able. They're going to be punting the rest of the season. How hurt is he?
Well, it's not that bad. It was reported as a pec strain rather than a full pec tear. So it'll be it'll be a couple weeks for him. But these are big games for the Dolphins on the road against some really difficult opponents. So, like in terms of your point, though, I don't think there's a greater drop off than starting left tackle who's really good to backup left tackle. It might be the biggest drop-off in all of football just because you notice it so acutely when that person is not in there. But I don't think Teron Armstead has practiced once all season. His job is to take shots during the week that allow him to be healthy for Sunday, and that's it. And when he came out of the game, you saw an appreciable difference the second that the second half started.
Can we talk about this for a second, Stugotz? Because they saved this money at quarterback because Tua comes in cheap, and they were able to get Hill. And this person that is pretty important. I'm watching the Dolphins when he plays, and it's like, wow, Tua's got plenty of time to go through 3 reads. And I got a couple of different options wide open. Why? Because no one's getting near him. You're telling me there's somebody roaming the sidelines for the Miami Dolphins that doesn't have to practice during the week, who's so strong and so gifted that he takes whatever shots need to be taken and he plays like Trent Williams in San Francisco. You can't get around him. That side, Tua is safe knowing that it's not his blind side. It's that right in front of him, nothing bad is going to happen.
That's what we're saying, Dan. He's that good to not practice.
Yes.
Well, he's just always hurt. So that's really more of a maintenance.
Let's
plan.
not make excuses, okay?
He's
Let's
also
not do
undefeated.
that. Right.
He's also undefeated this season. Only undefeated thing in the league.
Yes.
Look it up.
Tua.
I have a question. So,
I got an answer.
We play this game with Tua, and I love Tua. You guys know that. I have a jersey.
We all do.
I have this question about Tua. So he started the game against the Bengals, and obviously that's where that horrible injury happened, and then they lost, and then you say, well, he's undefeated in games that he's started and finished. Yesterday, he did not finish the game, so does that count towards that record or no?
It's a great question.
These players don't play a complete game anymore. It's disgusting.
He came out of like the last one too, the one where he was on the sideline.
Chris,
talking to
you're
McDaniel.
asking questions. You said you have the answer.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know, but
You're
I'm
the
just
answer
talking it
guy.
out. Just talking it out. I also like to do
That's
that.
another
Did you
thing.
come in with any answers today? Because the top of the AFC East is somehow Stugotz's Jets.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Nah, that's not a team.
They make a quarterback change.
You watch your mouth.
I'd be more worried about them now.
Billy, please explain something to me. I didn't understand.
I
what,
have answers.
I please give me some because on God Bless Football, I was hoping for an explanation. You, while Stugotz was talking, you quizzically raised an eyebrow at him because 4 days late he arrived at the conclusion. Why didn't we bench Zach Wilson during that last game?
It's not fair.
Well, I think he also said that they should have brought in Flacco, and I don't think Flacco was dressed for that game.
He wasn't, but I would have taken him in street clothes. He would have won that game. I said 2 weeks ago, and this is the advantage of having so many takes, okay? I said 2 weeks ago that the Jets should go out and get Matt Ryan. I saw the writing on the wall with Zach Wilson, Dan. I did. I said, you guys laughed at me. You dismissed me. The Jets were winning
you
football
didn't
games,
bench
but I
him.
said it.
You didn't bench him, and you lose a game against the Patriots, and now
No one has ever hedged more on Zach Wilson than you. You can't take credit for being decisive with an opinion.
Ask
do
him
what I
right
want.
now if he has a quarterback. He'll still say he's not assertive.
You've had zero conviction about this one question
It is
all
what it
season long.
is. I mean, I don't know if I have a quarterback, and I still don't. But I have Mike White.
But Billy, the question I'm asking you about the Jets and how for real they are as we go into meaningful December football games in the AFC East that might not involve the Patriots. It's unbelievable. It's been 20 years, Stugotz.
Dan, they're going to involve the Patriots. The Patriots play all these teams. They play the Bills this weekend. You
okay.
want the Patriots to win that game.
Okay, understood. I know the Patriots are going to be in there, but what I'm saying is they feel like a bit of an afterthought today as we
Yes.
begin December football.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It took 20 years to wrestle it out of Belichick's cold grip, and he's going to win at the end.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that if he plays all these teams in December, right, they're playing the ultimate spoiler, but if they win all these games, then they're right back in it.
But regardless, the Dolphins, how hurt is Hill? How hurt is Wilson? Because now they go into these December games with some critical pieces missing.
Everybody's hurt this
They'll be
time
fine.
of year.
Exactly.
Miami
They'll be
Dolphins
fine.
make no excuses.
Mhm.
That's the
Sounds
Miami
like
Dolphin
sounds
way.
like Chris Whittingham's making excuses already, though.
Tyreek Hill cramps. It's fine. Drink some Gatorade.
Here's the excuse: if they don't do well on this road trip, they're playing very difficult teams.
I was gonna say these next three. It's a who's who. I don't know if is it what's what. It's a what's what or who's who.
Who's
I don't know.
It's a
I
who's
thought
who.
you had the answers.
No, I'm just that. I had answers
Keep
to your
asking
You had a
questions.
single
Yeah.
answer.
No, I had I had an answer to yours.
You had a question.
I think it's a what's what.
It's a who's who. It's always been.
I want to see what's what.
It is a who's who. They're going against the rest of the way. I think it's the third best pass defenses in the sport. One of them was yesterday, I think, which is a weird number because Houston's terrible at stopping the run. So I thought that they were going to run all over them, but they just in the first half they just dragged Houston, and now they're at the top of the division.
The next three are brutal for the Dolphins. They could win the games, but they're just brutal matchups. They're at San Francisco, at the Chargers, at Buffalo.
Oh, at the
That's
Chargers.
tough.
I don't
Yeah.
like that flying back and forth business.
I think you stay.
No, they do. They're going to.
I don't like the staying either, though. That's the thing.
They should just go to Lincoln, Nebraska. Lincoln, Nebraska, and just
What do you want them to do, Bill?
What
I
do
mean,
you want
This
them
is
to
the schedule
do, Billy?
maker's fault, but you fly over there and then you either fly all the way back and then fly all the way back again, or now you're a road team and you're, away from your family, your comforts, your facility, your slide, all of that for a week. What are you going to do?
I'm thinking you beat San Francisco. Maybe have a group trip to Disneyland.
Like it.
Little team camaraderie building.
Yeah.
And then you go down to LA.
I have a question
Does
for
that make
you guys.
sense?
Yeah.
well,
Geographically.
you go down to LA first, and then you go down to
Yeah,
Anaheim,
whatever.
where
We'll figure out
Disneyland
the
is.
semantics, but a
You
little
go
trip to
up to LA.
Disneyland.
Did you guys see the the post game interview that they had with Tua on the sideline? Because there was one question that I don't know the answer to, and I was trying to get to the bottom of this, and maybe you guys
I
have
got
more
the answer.
information on this. They asked them on the week off, like just very casually, the reporter, I don't remember her name, asked Tua, like, oh, so you didn't want to go on vacation with Mike McDaniel. Like, so was there an offer made for them to go on vacation together during the break and they didn't? And where do you think they would have gone? Do you think they should have gone on vacation together? Like, what's the story about that vacation that we don't know? Because someone has the answers, because the question was put out there where she just casually said, like, oh, but you won't go on vacation with him. He goes, no, I'm not gonna go on vacation with him.
I've got him on a 4-night cruise, Royal Caribbean.
Really?
Yeah. A quick one.
McDaniel?
Like a week. Yeah, Tua and McDaniel.
It would not be a cruise. It would be, they'd have their own boat, would they not? You're imagining them like just going
I've been
to
on a
the-
cruise with Carlos Boozer. Rich people have like parts of the cruise. They can get like
A booze
really-
cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna check out for the rest of the week after that one.
See ya.
And then at the top of the division, there are the Bills still there,
They're
winning
not at the top of the division.
winning at Detroit, right there with Miami. And we have Miami's got to go through Buffalo. And aren't you?
They already did.
Something's
Yeah.
been off about
Yeah.
those Bills lately. Can't put my finger on it.
Lately,
And the Eagles, other than them having the best rushing performance of all time last night.
Josh Allen looks sad.
The
to
Chiefs
me.
are the only good team. There, I said it.
I don't know.
I don't know
He
about
has
that.
answers.
Like, I'm not buying the Bills, the Eagles. There's holes there. Like, they're good teams, clearly. I don't want to play them. But I'm just saying, they can be taken, both those teams. We saw last night. The Packers played miserable last night and only lost by 7. The Eagles,
Oh, come on, man.
They haven't played anyone.
Here's
Dan.
here's
said.
this is terrible analysis by you, and it's soaked in Dolphin homerism because what you're noticing is, oh look, Tua looks more spectacular than Hurts. Tua Hurts looks fine, but Tua, my quarterback, this is what you're doing. You're your father's son.
well, it's no. It's rushing attack versus passing attack. The Eagles' rushing attack is unbelievable. But I see holes. Like, the Packers played like shit last night, and that ended up being a close game with Jordan Love. I'm just saying the Eagles, as dominant, they're 10-1.
They scored 40, Chris.
How much money
I mean,
did
they're
you have
10-1.
on this Packers
yeah,
game?
Yeah, for real.
No money, just in a pool I had them.
but why?
No. But did you guys watch the game? I watched every second of that game, and it was infuriating how close the Packers kept it because they got dominated, and yet they were in the game. And it was just like the Eagles, there's something going on here where I'm not buying the Eagles as this, just put them in the Super Bowl. Every game in the playoffs is going to be a close game for them.
There was also some turnovers at bad
Wacky.
moments for the Eagles.
That was perfect.
That, you
I
know,
needed those.
Kept the Packers in the game.
I had nothing left to watch Jordan Love. I just had nothing.
You're out of gas.
I felt first time in a decade I've fallen asleep on a couch.
It's going to be key for the Dolphins not to turn it over, though, in December.
That is true.
Chris Cody, your analysis is so clearly just contaminated by the bets you had in that game.
I was watching that game with a clear head. I'm just the rushing attack from the Eagles last night.
Rushing attack
It was
again.
as if the 7 of us were trying to play run defense.
It was weird that they weren't prepared for Jalen
It was
Hurts to be
just
mobile.
like, and then they kept mentioning the missed tackles and the missed tackles by these Packers last night. I mean, it's just
On the rushing attack.
Chris, everyone can hear you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Your analysis
I watched every
stinks.
snap
I
of that
know.
game last night.
How many prop bets did you have?
none. Just had the Packers plus 6.5. That's it.
What is going on right now? Does someone have? Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. I have Kansas City talking in my ear. I thought that was going over the air. Go for it. I was like, what the hell is happening
Andy
right now?
Reid?
Sorry about that, guys.
I muted my computer like 6 times just to be sure.
You heard that too,
Yeah,
right?
I heard it.
What the goddamn heck is going on?
I'm just look. Both can be true. I can be emotional about last night's game, and the Eagles can be a team that are a little vulnerable for a 10-1
Okay,
team.
but they've lost once.
I'm just saying. Look at their scores the last
I
few
know,
games.
but
They're playing close games.
Chris Cody,
It's one of those random things where they're winning close games.
Just
So
say
they're
not good. They're not good.
No, I'm not saying they're
this
not
is-
good.
Say it. They're not
This
good.
is an infuriating thing that happened with the Steelers 2 years ago when they started the season 11-0, and everyone's like, "Oh, the Steelers suck. They're the worst 11-0 team ever." And I was like, "Well, they've won every single game this season, so it's a little mean to say that." And then they went on and choked in the playoffs because they weren't that well-rounded of a team, but they had some lucky games at the beginning of the season. And things shook out for them in a good way until the playoffs came around, and then they hadn't really worked on any of their weaknesses.
I'm not saying I want to face the Eagles. I'm just saying
No.
I think
say
they can
more.
be had.
No. Say more. Be the first one to say this is the worst 11-1 team in NFL history, and they're not making it to the Super
I'm
Bowl.
not
Say
saying
it.
that, though.
Say it.
Are you fixated on the Eagles?
I'll say
if
it.
you match up with them, it would just be in the Super Bowl.
I don't know why I'm
That's a
being
classic
attacked
look
right
at
now.
it.
I just came in with a take.
No,
I'm gonna say.
I've never seen. You're looking beyond the Niners and already ahead to the Super Bowl.
Who did I put in the Super Bowl?
I want to
You're
step
talking about
in
the Eagles.
Chris
What does that matter?
I want to step in Chris Cody's defense
Thank
because
you.
I do think that you can have sharper takes and sharper views on a game after having gambled on it. Yes, they might emotionally taint those thoughts, but I think you watch that game more keenly than any of us. You are more tuned
And that's
in.
what he keeps saying.
Right.
He keeps saying, I watched every play, and I saw that the Packers with stinky Jordan Love stayed in the game. And his analysis at the end of it is just, hey, like the rest of America, I think the Chiefs are better than everyone. Don't totally trust the Bills. And the Eagles, that looks like a team that can lose in the first round in an upset, even though they've only lost 2 or 3 games all season.
That sounds great what you're saying right now. That sounds like a guy who's watching
no,
sports this weekend.
Go to the Eagles schedule game by game.
It's only the Cowboys game that they could lose.
No, they could have lost to the Lions. They only won by a field goal. They could have lost to the Cardinals. That's right. That's game 1. They could have lost to the Lions. They could have lost to the Cardinals. They could have lost to the Cowboys.
Yep.
I mean, if things would have bounced another way in a sport where a ball is not round, Dan, I know you like that. Guess what? They could be in second place, maybe on the OLI in the playoffs.
Okay,
They're not that good.
And
the
in that
Eagles.
sport, the Ravens are like
They're
6.
not that good either.
Okay, but they're also 6 points from
They're
being.
a fraud team. I'll just say it right now. The Ravens are a fraud
I
team.
love
Boy, that's how you do it.
The God bless football crew. You give them a little slither of something and they take it and they run with
Yes.
it.
What are you talking about?
Yes, that's fine. You can think that, but I'm
You
just.
see the hole and you explode.
Oh, you're
through
going to
it.
bet on the Ravens?
Yeah.
Please.
I'm
the
not-
Ravens are lucky that they have the wins that they have.
Something's wrong with Lamar Jackson. I'm
with
telling you.
Stugotz. I
Yeah.
told him that he was crazy when he said that Lamar was costing him a lot of money not signing in the offseason. I'm starting to wonder. He's not had a great season, Dan. Has he had a great season?
Well, that's fine. And all I'm saying is that the Ravens could be undefeated with a bounce here and there, and they're playing yesterday's game. Tell me that the most exciting moment in football wasn't Justin Tucker running out there to try and kick a 67-yarder to win it.
There was a timeout on the board. I guess he didn't want to ice the kicker, but making that a fire drill was a little confusing to me. And yes, it was super exciting. I thought for sure he was making it.
I expected it to go in.
yeah,
I did.
Same. But also, how
Yeah.
about you handle the Jaguars? Because they're the Jaguars. They're good, man. No, they're not.
But Trevor Lawrence in the fourth quarter, I mean,
He was great.
They
Yeah.
didn't see that coming.
What is your take then, Billy? Just the
I don't
Ravens
know.
are
I've had a lot.
frauds.
The Ravens are not
Okay.
a great team. Do you think the Ravens are a great team?
All I'm saying to you is when you guys say this game decided by 3 points, this one by 3 points,
Yeah.
that's all of them.
Look at the Dolphins schedule.
Yeah.
I think
Blowing
they
teams out.
The Dolphins, no, you say look at the Dolphins schedule, but Billy, you were teasing me the entire pandemic. Hey, Dan, you want to do this season, wins, losses?
Yeah, you didn't. You
No,
were afraid.
no,
and
but-
now you want to do it.
no, but-
now you're
no,
going to want to
but
do it because the
together-
Dolphins are good and
Losses.
people want to talk about the
And he
Dolphins
sees
now.
losses.
No,
You thought the Dolphins were going to be shit this year. Just say it. You thought the Dolphins were going to be bad.
it's not true at all.
You want them to lose.
Not true. All lies.
He came in here and was like, I'm excited about this Dolphin season. I'm ready to go. And we thought, boy, Dan has gone out on a limb. And then Stugotz and Greg Cody an
Yes,
hour
that's
later
right.
said they're going to win the Super Bowl. I was like,
look at
well,
them.
shit.
Yeah.
And you guys didn't want to follow that path.
Yep.
You
Dan
can't-
doubted them. Yeah.
He can't claim that he was excited about them. He refused to answer every single one of your "is that a win? Is that a
Yeah.
loss?" questions. You tried
But,
several times.
Yes, you
49ers,
tried several
win or
times,
loss.
And,
49ers.
we're not going to do
Answer
it
the
again.
Well,
question.
you're doing it again.
I'm not going to do it again.
Doing it again.
What I'm going to do is go back and remind you that what we did do is said, hey, the first 4 games on the schedule are really hard, and then they've got 8 easy ones. We did that before the season.
And?
That's the easy part of the schedule. And through that, the Dolphins, when Tua is healthy, they win every game. And when he's not healthy, they lose the 3 of them, and they're not healthy right now.
Hey, Billy, do you want to play a game? Who's a higher rated passer, Blank or Lamar Jackson?
Okay.
Andy Dalton
Well, I don't.
or Lamar Jackson?
I'm going to go Dalton.
You are right.
Wow.
Red Rifle.
Ryan Tannehill or Lamar Jackson?
Has to be Lamar Jackson.
It's Ryan Tannehill.
Get out of here.
Jimmy Garoppolo or Lamar Jackson?
Lamar.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
What?
Trevor Lawrence or Lamar Jackson?
Trevor had the big comeback yesterday. I'm going to go with Lamar.
Trevor Lawrence. The QB rankings are crazy. That is what I've come to find.
Who's the leader?
If you
Gino
would-
still?
Well, who's a leader? The Miami Dolphins!
Oh, Tua, my
This
bad.
is the thing.
Undefeated Tua!
Tua didn't have a great game yesterday. I'll just say it. Tua didn't have a great game yesterday. There were a lot of drops, though. A lot of drops. They need to start catching that ball.
What do you mean he didn't have a great game?
He didn't have a great game
He had
yesterday.
300 yards in the first half. He made a couple of ill-advised throws in the end zone that they didn't pick off. and he got ragdolled again because he doesn't. I mean, he seems to fall harder than other people.
Top 5 rated passers in the league right now. Number 1, Number 2, Geno Smith.
Right.
Number 3, Jalen Hurts. Number 4, Patrick Mahomes. Number 5, Jimmy Garoppolo.
It's crazy.
Andy Dalton is presently a top 10 rated passer in the league right now. You look towards the middle of the pack.
Josh
you're seeing
Allen?
Names like Aaron Rodgers. Josh Allen's number 9 right now. Just
Okay.
0.2 of a point over Andy Dalton.
What?
Yeah, but you have Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert all in the middle. You got guys like Lamar Jackson on the back half of starting quarterbacks in this league. Very confusing. You know what? I'm going to come out and say it after all these years. I don't know how you calculate this thing.
What?
No, I don't know the algorithm
wait a
that goes into
minute.
QB rating. I know that if you have a higher number, that's good, and if you have a lower number, that's bad. But what actually goes into it, don't know. Don't know. And I'm man enough to admit that.
I got another take on the Packers.
Great.
Jordan Love, eyeballs emoji.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm telling you, they might need
This
to play
is
him.
the only
That
game
guy
you
looked
want.
good last
How
night.
much
They
were
have
you,
to
how
play him.
much were
They
you
do.
chasing last night that this is the game of your obsession on the day the Dolphins do that? They blow out the Texans. They do what they're supposed to do. They're up 30-0 at the half. They take out Tua because the game is won.
A little late too, by the way. I don't know what Coach Mikey was doing there, but he got some hits that didn't need to get taken. You know what I mean?
What happened there?
Jared Goff or Andy Dalton. It's a new game.
Oh, wow. I'm going to go golf.
I mean, it's close.
Really?
Yeah. No, Goff is 12th right now in the league. Andy Dalton is top 10? How? After that game yesterday?
He's having a season.
I bet on that game. I've got thoughts on that one if you want to come back to me.
I don't want to have any more thoughts. That's the only game I wasn't interested in yesterday. And furthermore, Stugotz, the 49ers are terrifying.
They are.
The 49ers
Yes.
are lurking around every team ready to out-tough you in the modern age.
Yeah.
But you know who knows that playbook? McDaniel.
Yeah.
You
They
know,
run it better, though.
You know who
They
knows
do.
McDaniel's playbook?
I'm not so sure.
Yeah. He's got some tricks up his sleeve. Some things he's never seen.
Rabbit in that hat.
Like
Yep.
McDaniel has spent years with what's his name? Shanahan in his in his meeting rooms. Shanahan has never been in a meeting led by McDaniel.
Okay.
Difference there.
Right.
He could have taken what he liked from Shanahan and did his own thing with it. I'm just saying.
It's going to be an interesting chess match.
I like it. Oh, I can't wait till they show the video of them like talking before the game.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
The midfield handshake.
I'm sorry because you said this already, but you had which side last night in that Packer game?
Packers.
Sorry.
Very clearly.
Plus
Packers.
6.5.
Yeah, sorry about that. That field goal had to kill you, huh?
Well, a couple missed extra points in that game. It's
Right.
it's not about me though.
Can we talk about Justin Tucker? That the moment of yesterday in football, correct? There was not a better one. Am I wrong about this? Is at the end of whatever happened at Ravens Jacksonville, the craziness back and forth. The last 5-10 minutes of that game were fun and interesting. And Lamar Jackson threw a ball 50 yards to I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, Deshaun Jackson still getting behind secondaries.
Would you nominate that or the Nads on Brandon Staley?
Ooh, that's a good question.
The Nads, I think.
Nads.
Yeah. You had to walk off with the Raiders as well.
Doug Peterson, Nads.
Yeah.
Like a 67-yard field goal by Justin Tucker.
Ooh, Josh Jacobs was a good nominee there by Stugotz. I don't know. I'm gonna sell. You know what? Maybe.
I'm glad he missed it. I'm going to be the one that says it. I'm glad that he missed it.
So happy.
A little bit of humble pie. I mean, enough of Justin Tucker.
You know,
Okay?
like I was thinking about this morning after that field goal attempt. You know, like when baseball players do the home run derby and their swing isn't the same for like a month afterwards.
Yeah.
I was wondering this morning if that swing of that leg is going to harm Justin Tucker.
Really?
That
Timing's off.
trying to go for 67 yards. That he's not going to be the same kicker after this. I wonder if we can draw a line of demarcation in his career.
Do you think at practice they just go for chip shots?
I don't think they go for 67s though. I think
He was
by the
going
way,
for 65 before the game.
Yeah, that's what he does. He does
sing
a
some
60
opera.
Chris is right about that.
Go sing
That is-
some opera. Chris is right about that.
He is. Yeah.
What do you?
Hey, choose a career.
No,
I
no.
mean, be a kicker or sing opera. I
Yeah.
mean, let's go. I mean,
I appreciate I appreciate Whitty thinking outside the box, but a kicker's leg getting tired specifically because of one kick that one takes a cake when they're just bombing away from 70 before the game.
What kind of taunt
They should never do a kickoff.
is go sing some opera?
Less opera, more kicking 60-yard field goals.
67-yard
I'm
field
just saying,
goals.
tomato.
Billy, you are. It needs to be stated for the record.
As he just learned, there is a mighty big difference between 67 and 60.
He
not
wasn't
tomato,
that close.
tomato.
They tried to make it seem like it was closer
It
than
looked
it
like
was.
crossbar.
In Chris's defense, when he hits from 63, they say that would have been good from 73.
Yeah,
I mean, they
hate
say it
that.
all the time.
I hate that.
He would have
Yeah.
made it in Mexico City. All right.
100%.
Probably.
And credit to them. They actually flipped the script and said that would have been good from 65.
Billy, you are now on the record publicly as being more anti-Ravens than anyone I've heard nationally. This is a dookie bomb. Like you were out here smearing the Ravens. No one is talking. You just brought Mike Ryan into your argument by denigrating Lamar Jackson. Stugotz has said.
No.
He dropped the dookie.
Stugotz has said that Lamar Jackson has cost himself money and he should have an agent. And then a week later, he's negotiating great. And now we're back to Lamar Jackson. You're out here saying you don't believe in the Ravens at all. Louder than anyone I've heard in the national media.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying that they seem a little fraudy,
do.
fraudy. The Ravens. That's all I'm saying, and I'm just saying maybe Stugotz was right.
Fraudy
about Lamar
like the Giants?
Lamar Jackson hasn't been that good this year, Dan. Has he been? Do you think he's
hasn't.
been that good?
No.
Fraudy like the Giants. That backdoor cover ruined Thanksgiving. Ruined it. We were all going.
Worst
It
cover of all
was
time.
awful.
We got
Oh,
damn, that was
man.
annoying.
This is so
Blake
bad.
Moore, how about
This
you
is
start
so
singing
bad.
opera?
I would fight Mar right now.
Oh, I hate
I would
you.
punch that guy right in the face if he walked in here.
It just
Wow.
after that, everything devolved. We started talking about Mar-a-Lago. I couldn't help it.
Okay, this is now gone off the rail where the poisons of gambling have made you guys unreasonable. Like you come
No,
in
but
here.
Dan, it was a backdoor bullshit cover.
Dan,
Come on,
that's the
Dan.
worst cover of the year. That's the
Blake
worst cover of the year.
Moore.
I was at the point of Thanksgiving when everyone was getting ready to leave my house, and I let out an and everyone looked at me like I was insane.
They've never heard that from
Criminally
you. Right, yeah.
insane. Because I was like, there's just no way that this stupid Giants team is going to cover. And God damn it, they did.
The indifference by that Cowboys defense on that final drive.
Shocking.
Respect the line.
Exactly.
Respect the spread.
Hey,
So true.
Blake Maher, if you and I are ever walking down a hallway, is it Maher or
Unbelievable.
Mar?
This is
It's
Mahar.
also Brett.
I think it's Mayor.
No, it's Brett.
spread.
Well, fuck him.
Yeah.
Respect.
all right. This is
What do you mean?
We got to get it under control. The degeneracy has infected everything here. The analysis of
Respect
You
the
were
spread.
yeah, you're supposed to.
You respect the spread.
If you drip in the NBA, they dribble out the clock. They just dribble it out, and no, there's no BS around the result. Everyone knows who the better team is.
There's no bad beats in the NBA.
You can't get mad. You can't get mad.
Get out of here.
No, there is, but you can. For the most part, teams are classy. They dribble it out.
my only point is that when you have Cowboys Giants being the most watched regular season football game ever, 42 million people. I'm assuming, was this after the World Cup? Did Fox go back to back on World Cup? 42 million people were watching Cowboys Giants on Thanksgiving Day, and you guys are only going to break down the elements of that revolve around the gambling at the end?
Yeah, by mispronouncing the kicker's name. That's how we do over here.
Mm-hmm.
The show can't be this infected with the gambling that's the only breakdown you give us of Giants and Cowboys.
I'm with you. What do we have for Thursday Thunder this week? Presented by DraftKings Sportsbook.
The AFC East is at the top. It's Stugotz. It's at the top of the AFC. It is the Jets. It is the Bills. It is the Dolphins. And yes or no, the Patriots are an afterthought.
They are for now, but that could change quickly.
That's
Again,
where
they
they
play
wanna be.
Buffalo, right?
That's just where they want you to have them, Dan.
They
As an
have 2
afterthought.
games with Buffalo remaining. They have a game with the Dolphins remaining. They're going to be a big part of what happens down the stretch here. And they might win the division and the Super Bowl.
Okay, but still, this is the closest it's ever been to in December. Everyone's got a chance, correct?
Yes.
In 20 years? In 20 years, Stugotz.
Oh, yeah.
It's sometimes one team can come after the Patriots. Now all of them, if you had to be a betting person, the Patriots are not the favorites to come out of this division. The Bills still are, correct?
I think the Dolphins might be. I mean, they should be. The Dolphins are playing beautiful football. I know the tough part of their schedule is coming up, but their offense is so good and so fun to watch, and the defense pretty good as well. I think listen, with Allen's injury, I think the Dolphins should be the favorites to win this division. I do. I mean, that shouldn't be a shock to anyone. I had them going to the Super Bowl before the season.
The Bills are still minus 225 to win this division.
Really?
The Dolphins plus 275. The Jets are 10-1. The Patriots 25-1. The longest odds to win the AFC East, despite the fact they still have 3 games left to play against AFC East teams.
Can we, for just a moment? I know that if this is the end of the Patriots, no, what?
No, we can't. I mean, this whole thing with the Bills, they haven't even won a game in the division yet, Dan. Have the Bills beat anyone in the division? No.
Billy, what I am telling you is you're doing today, you're doing this minute. I'm trying to celebrate that for 20 years the Patriots have been on top of this division. They are the most important thing. They are always the team to beat. The December games always go through them. They get the bye in the first round. They win the Super Bowl. Everyone laughs at the rest of the AFC East. The Patriots go to the Hall of Fame on being in the AFC East for 20 years. Look how goddamn hard it's been for them to try and eke out getting beyond the Patriots. All 3 of them right now, Jets, Bills, and Dolphins, feel better than the Patriots do. And what an absurd victory for the fans of the AFC East that they've been dominating so submissively for 20 years that this passes as great triumph and balance in the division.
The Bills have felt that way for a couple of years. What's shocking to everyone, especially in these studios, because it's never happened before, is the Dolphins and Jets are really good. That's the surprise. The Bills have been good for 3 years now. The Dolphins and Jets being this good is absurd. It is. I mean, they're never this good at the same
You just
time.
classified the Jets as really good in the same class as the Dolphins.
But the Jets are the
My bad,
same.
no, step below. I think the Jets are a step
Jets
below.
are
I
good.
do.
Maybe not really good.
The Jets are the same kind of good as they've kind of been sporadically throughout recent years. Kind of like the Dolphins. Good defense, but just offense. As a team with a good offense,
Yes.
I can tell you the Jets
Right.
are not good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm
Thanks.
just gonna sit back.
You do
and let
have the
know.
answers. Thank you.
I've seen the full spectrum now.
Right.
I know what it feels like to be everywhere.
Right.
Not good.
But I
had
can
a
also
healthy-
tell you they have a defense that can win any game. Any game. Keeps them in every game and can win any game. And I'm good with that.
Count your lucky stars that they didn't figure out this Mike White thing earlier and that Breece Hall got hurt. Because in terms of offensive talent, no one's really catching the Dolphins, especially on the outside. But that's a really talented offense with the Jets. The drop-off isn't that much, and the defense might be more than enough, certainly, to make that up. That's analysis. That's an answer.
They have Tony playing quarterback.
He looks good. Tony and the quarterback.
Yep.
He looks more like me than I look like me.
He does. Don't you dare say what you're going to say, Tony. Don't say it.
He's always believed in him.
Don't say it.
I have.
No, he hasn't.
I feel bad for the Patriots. Is that weird?
What? No, come on. Not after all. We can't feel bad for the Patriots. We
do.
can't.
Why?
Because it's almost like they're a shell of themselves. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't even really be that happy that you're beating
But
them.
no, Billy, think about all their fans.
No. I just feel it's almost like a pity for them. Where it's
No.
like I don't want to laugh at them when they're down. It's like
us. They laughed at us.
Boston sports fans, you feel pity for them?
maybe it's Belichick I feel bad for. Is that weird?
Is it because he's old?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like this aging entity, right? Where you like look at them and it's like, oh, like they're old and like they're dyeing their hair and it's like shockingly jet black and you're like, it's impossibly black. Like, I feel bad. Like, it's okay. Like, we know you're
Right,
aging. We
Cody?
know it's done.
I think
Let
it's
it go.
the Saban Belichick documentary a few years ago. That turned you on Belichick.
Oh, I love Belichick.
That's right.
after
Ever
that.
since
Yeah, no,
then,
great
you've
doc.
been pro
Yeah.
Belichick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's it, I think.
Remember the speech he gave at his daughter's wedding? where he
Oh
called
my
her Gritty?
God! I wanted to
Amazing.
be his daughter.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Didn't we all?
Being his daughter.
The dog at the NFL draft as well.
Oh.
That was sitting in the
Oh, the
chair.
dog.
A little
yeah.
cute doggo.
Whoever's doing PR for Bill Belichick the last 5 years has been doing a really good job.
Did you catch him being all of a sudden super into the World Cup with the Croatia patches on his jackets on the
Oh,
sideline?
no.
He's done that before. He's Croatian.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Belichick.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh.
It was probably once Belichick.
Probably right.
You guys are saying it like it's common knowledge. Croatian, Belichick.
I know
yeah.
Croatian names.
If you could be any NFL coach,
Obviously.
if you could be any NFL coach's daughter, who would it be?
Wow, what a great question.
Ooh.
I'd be Mike McDaniel's daughter.
That'd be fun.
Smart.
You're a baby.
You would be young.
Right. I would be back to 2 years
You
old.
get to start over.
You could be friends with your own daughter.
How far would you go back if you could?
Wow.
Well, I wouldn't have a daughter then. Or wait, does my life leave me behind? I press this magical button, my legacy stays, but I just revert back to.
Well,
That's kinda odd.
you wouldn't know your family
It's just
though.
Like, it's just like Mike's coming back into town. Everybody get excited for Mike, and all of a sudden I'm a 2-year-old.
No,
girl.
you
And
wouldn't.
Julia is so excited to see you.
No,
Yeah.
they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know you because they don't know Mike McDaniel's daughter.
So, really?
Yeah, you
I
have
like
to
the-
live as.
I like the scenario where everyone in my circle just has to adjust to the fact that I'm a 2-year-old girl now.
Cowboys still coming over to hang out.
I say in my fantasy league, I still own the Cyclones. I'm still producing this show in this chair.
Still arguing about the Miami Hurricanes.
Still donating money to the Hurricanes.
Mario Cristobal is the answer. I'm telling you.
No.
But
He just needs guys with grit.
yeah, but occasionally I'll just ask, give me my baba after I do it. I want my baba.
I did a poopy.
I feel like Pete Carroll would be a fun dad.
He would. Jeff Saturday as well.
Midway through that Seahawks game yesterday, I made an observation that Carroll wasn't chewing gum. And I was like, wow, is he switched? Maybe he doesn't do the gum thing anymore. And then in the fourth quarter, everyone can rest easy. He was back to chomping gum.
So it's one piece of gum at the end of the game, not one piece for all.
That can never be one piece.
Maybe he gets one at the start of the game, and then when it loses flavor, spits it out, and then gets a fourth quarter
What do you
piece.
think he does? You think he spits it on the floor? You think he like spits it into someone's hand and they have to dispose it? Because you like if you spit it on the floor on the sideline, then he could step on it or someone else could step on it.
Or
I
he
think-
swallows it every time.
I
like
think
a
it's
Oh,
I think it's a
Oh,
very
no.
psychopath.
I think he takes it out of his mouth and then just chucks it backwards into the crowd without even looking behind.
I feel like that's one of those things that the fans would like get excited to try to catch too, which is like really gross.
I would catch who's all right. Now let's play this game. Whose gum would you catch?
Wow.
Tua. Would you? Yes or no? I'll say a person. You say yes or
Oh,
no.
yes or no?
Yeah.
No.
Brady's definitely. That'd be
Yes.
worth something someday.
Mm-hmm.
His DNA, yeah.
Yeah.
Clone him.
I'd clone him.
You can't rule it out. Have you ever done your genealogy?
No.
You never have?
No.
Yeah, well,
You
if
might be Croatian too.
If you did, guess what? 400 years from now, you might be a 2-year-old girl.
I don't think that works like that.
Not
That's how cloning. Yeah, I mean, they don't. It's not exactly a carbon copy. Sometimes it can.
2 goals for Ghana, huh?
It's like a. How did that happen?
Stugotz, I think you know how much I admire this woman and her work in journalism. Generations of Jenkinses have been writing about sports better than everyone else in the country. And Sally Jenkins at the Washington Post had the story this weekend, and I'll let her explain it to you. But Jerry Jones is in a photograph at 14 years old in 1957 in the middle of a civil rights unrest. And I'll let Sally take the story from here because it was a part of a much broader story she was working on that's got a lot of nuance in it, but that's the part that got the most traction, Sally, because I don't even know where this story started. How is it? I know you are always holding owners to account. I know you have very good relationships. I don't know how this story came to be, and thank you for joining us, by the way.
Sure. First off, I partnered on the piece with the great David Marinis, the 2-time Pulitzer winner for the Washington Post, who did Bill Clinton's biography several years ago. So it wasn't just my story. It's been a big team effort. The Blackout series by the Washington Post sports section is basically a 9-part series and an attempt to take a look at why there aren't more black head coaches in the NFL, given that about 70% of the labor force is black, which is, these guys spend their whole lives studying the game, and yet they're not proportionally represented among head coaches. There's only 3 black head coaches in the entire league. So we set out to look at that from every angle and possible. And one angle is, of course, from the owner's point of view. Jerry Jones was the only owner of 32 requests that we sent out who actually agreed to sit down and talk to us about this, which we give him a lot of credit for. We wanted to do a piece on an owner that looked at, generationally, how they were shaped, what shapes their attitudes, how their attitudes might have changed over the years towards racial justice issues in the NFL. And of course, Jerry Jones had that very famous instance where he linked arms with his players and took a knee during the whole controversy over social justice protests in the NFL. So that was the genesis of the piece. It was part of a larger project. We came across this photograph of Jones. It's at the start of his school year at North Little Rock High School. He's 15 years old. He's on the cusp of his 15th birthday, and he's very clearly identifiable in the photo, which ran on the front page of the New York Times in 1957, because Little Rock was undergoing a real crisis over the desegregation of its schools, to the point that President Eisenhower had to send the 101st Airborne into Little Rock to quell the violence over black school kids trying to go to white schools. So we knew that Jerry Jones had witnessed, or at least had lived through, a very tough civil rights era in Little Rock, and we wanted to talk to him about that. And we just started to research it for the purpose of asking him questions when we came across that photo.
If someone says to you Arkansas was racist in 1950s, you'd say yes, of course, because of all the history you cite that you cite there. So of course, somewhere that Jerry Jones would be descending from and around racism. The answer to that would be of course, right?
Right, and not just Little Rock, although Little Rock was a very critical sort of nexus point in the school segregation fight. It was a huge national story at the time. It was the biggest hotspot on the map for this subject, and so we knew from, as basic students of history, that Jones and his family surely lived through that era. What we didn't know when we started out was that Jones had been directly involved in an incident on schoolhouse steps. So then the question becomes, okay, so he was there. What does that mean? What does it mean to him? What does it mean for the story? And what should the emphasis on it be? And those were all very delicate questions that Marinus and I had to sort through in putting the piece together.
Sally, is it fair to judge a person by a photograph that was taken when they were a child?
Of course not. Certainly not. What is fair is to ask him about what he witnessed, ask him what he experienced, ask him how his views may have changed, if they did change at all. How has he evolved on issues of social justice and racial justice? And the fact is that he has evolved. Particularly recently. He started out as a real hardliner on the whole Colin Kaepernick crisis in the NFL. At one point, Jerry Jones said that the Dallas Cowboys would stand for the anthem and, quote, toe the line. Well, he's really softened on that. He's become a much more considered voice on the subject, partly thanks to his conversations with his black vice president of personnel, Will McClay. So those are the sorts of things that we wanted to talk to him about. And we're really glad that he agreed to sit down and talk about it all. He's not defensive on the subject, as he told us, and as he's told others. He feels very genuine in his own skin, and he tends to talk pretty forthrightly about these things. Now, his answers won't satisfy everybody. I mean, the mere fact that he was on the steps is a tough thing, because there were no real, purely innocent bystanders that day. It was a day that became very physical for the black kids who were on those steps. You had to run to get to the top of the steps ahead of them. There was a huge mob assembled. They were spit on. They were called the N-word. They were shoved off the steps. Crosses were burned at the opening home football game of North Little Rock High School. Eventually, bombs went off in downtown Little Rock. A black photographer named Alex Wilson was beaten half to death near Central High School. in Maine, Little Rock. So, it's a very, very tough time. It was a huge national story, and Jones's presence there and his thoughts on the day and his thoughts on today are important to look at and to talk to NFL owners about.
Stugotz, I don't think I'm oversimplifying this, but Sally, please correct me if I am. You're talking about two very accredited journalists basically pouring time and investment into a story of telling, how do we do this politely? Hey, Jerry Jones, have you realized that you descend pretty clearly from racism and that might infect your hiring practices or how you view the world as an 80-year-old billionaire, that you're coming to literally question a billionaire part of the power structure that is, granting you an audience because he doesn't mind abiding this pressure that none of these other guys want to answer to. This is why you took up this story, no, Sally?
Oh, completely. Yeah, we took up the story because Jerry Jones is the single most influential owner in the NFL. He's called the shadow commissioner. And as he agreed in conversation with us, if Jerry Jones wants to move the needle on race and the NFL, it will move. He acknowledges that he has an influence and the Cowboys have an influence that no other team really has. They're such a powerful icon, and he's such a powerful owner that he can move the ball on this issue. And so that's one reason why he thought it was important to talk to us, I think. So yeah, that was the genesis of the story. That's the real meaning of the story. Of course, people shouldn't be held responsible for what they did at 15. And of course, people shouldn't be held responsible for what their fathers thought or what their grandfathers thought. Jones did not know that his grandfather was a member of the Capital Citizens Council, which was a very, very tough segregationist group that may have been behind some of the more violent things that happened in Little Rock. He did not know that. That was news to him. So, in some ways, we were telling him things that he'd never heard before. So of course, you don't hold people responsible for that. But what you do, particularly when they're someone like Jerry Jones, who has so much influence, is you ask them about their own experiences and their own thoughts and their own evolution on this subject, because we have to have the frank conversation. Otherwise, the coaches keep being met with this implacable silence and this real impasse on the subject. And so, the quest here is for understanding, right?
It's interesting though, Sally, because you say the quest is for understanding, but if I'm not putting this too delicately when I say you've got two award-winning journalists going to ask Jerry Jones if he understands that he's racist or that he's imprinted by it, that whether the photograph excuses him or whether it's fair to go back 65 years or not. Hey, do you realize that your history might infect the fact that you never hire a black dude in a position of power?
Right. I mean, it was a tough conversation. I mean, what can I say? We asked some very point blank questions. Probably the most point blank question of the day was, Jones fervently believes that you pull yourself up by your own bootstraps and that, you have to really want one of these 32 jobs. They're almost impossible to get. He kept saying it's easier to get elected a senator than it is to get a head coaching job in the NFL. And that's probably true. And Jones's belief is that if you want it bad enough, you'll do some, as what he called, inordinate things to get there. You really have to strive. But the tough question of the day in our conversation with him, which lasted, about 2.5 hours, was, well, look, is it possible that these men are facing an obstacle that you're not acknowledging? Just as, 6 black school kids, they were highly aspirational too. Back in 1957, 6 kids want to walk up those steps and get in that school to get a better education. Is it possible that they faced, a real impasse and an obstacle they couldn't surmount? And so that question's relevant today. Are black men in the NFL facing problems that they themselves cannot surmount with pure effort?
Sally, thank you for the work and the reporting. Is there anything else that you feel the reader should be taking away from why it is that you reported this and what it is that you were doing here?
I think there's a lot of debate about whether there really is a problem in the NFL, and the answer is a declarative yes. This is not some murky proportional statistical wrinkle where you go, oh, should the percentage of black head coaches be higher given the overall representation of the population or something? Black men the rare black man who has become a head coach in the NFL waited an average of 9 years longer for his opportunity to become a head coach. That's one of the things our data showed. There is a problem. It is a hardcore, real problem. And it's going to take a guy like Jerry Jones to acknowledge that impasse and address it and realize that, no, you can't just pull yourself up by your bootstraps as a black man in the NFL. There's something more going on there that's getting in their way.
Who's going to own the Commanders?
I have no idea, quite frankly. I mean, I probably shouldn't say this, but I hope it's not Jeff Bezos. I hope he buys a team out west. I think it would be better for the paper if we just cover this team without that complication. But, so that's how I feel.
That's
I really
very
don't care who
selfish.
owns them.
That's very selfish, Sally. You don't want the conflict with the newspaper to come over his ownership
That's
of the
her boss
Commanders
too, right?
And it's her
she-
boss. It's also brave.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather
Sally.
keep it clean. I'd rather him own some other team outside of town, but that's just me. But good luck to him. And the main issue is, it doesn't need to be Dan Snyder ever again. I mean, anyone will be better than this guy. I mean, it's just the league cannot survive another year with Dan Snyder as an NFL owner, and leave any shred of its reputation intact. This man should not be owning anything. He should not be in charge of anybody's life.
Sally, thank you for being on with us. Thanks for the work.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Sally.
Stugotz, have you come around on soccer a little bit? Come on. You've been watching a little bit. Admit it. You like soccer a little bit. You did a couple God Bless footballs.
Yeah.
You like it
We
a
did
little.
one. Let's be clear. We did one. We have another, perhaps, that we'll do today or tomorrow.
You like
but
it a little bit more than you did a year ago.
Stugotz, admit it. You like having something to gamble on at 8 a.m.
I do.
I had a horror. Whittingham's in a bad position here because I told Whittingham
what?
through my shame, I told Whittingham I've bet 4 World Cup overs and I have a total of 1 goal in all of the games combined.
You're the reason.
And I keep betting, thinking 2 goals. Come on, they'll just be an outburst, and then and I get nothing. You guys, I now look back at your hug over the 1 goal against Wales. It might be the only one you get in the entire
only hug?
tournament.
Yeah.
It might be.
You're starting to get it. World Cup goals are hard to come by.
Yeah.
Soccer goals are hard. And when
Yes.
you wait 4 years to see a goal, and in the U.S.'s case, 8 years to see a goal, there's a massive explosion of emotion. And how about that really fascinating, entertaining 0-0 draw that happened
Waste of time.
on the day after
Epic.
Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
A great draw.
Against England.
How is it a great draw?
Because
Explain
England
that to
is one
me.
of the favorites in the tournament, and we needed that. Now we control our own destiny.
Right.
It's encouraging because you went toe-to-toe with one of the tournament favorites, and you were, even though you split the points, a better team.
Better chances.
Everyone agrees the U.S. was better on the day.
And that it buys you nothing.
It got us
Well,
a point. That's what it did.
Can I
Big
ask you
point.
guys a question? Because I was thinking about this. I have enjoyed the soccer because there are stakes attached to it. But when I hear and read that the USA dominated a game in which they scored the same amount of goals as England, why not, like in boxing, have judges who say, hey, you know what? 0-0 draw.
Again, changing the rules.
No, I think this is a good rule change. I'm serious. I'm trying to help soccer out here.
Throw it to the judges. They'd never be corrupt.
Well, no, in boxing, Dan, they do it all the time, okay? Winner by draw, okay?
No.
Why? And you get 2 points and the loser gets 1 point. If you dominate a game because it's very hard to score and the judges say, hey, you know what? We think the United States dominated
Why do
that
you
game.
dismiss-
Celebrity judges.
Why do you dismiss
Celebrity judges.
Yes.
Why do you dismiss
Yeah.
the value of the draw? You love a draw in the
No.
NFL. When the Colts have one, you never stop talking about it.
And why is
Right,
your
that's a big draw.
Why
I
is
mean,
your solution? Why is
keeps
your
them in the mix. I
Why is
mean-
your solution? The one thing in sports that everybody can agree on is they hate going to the judges in combat
But they're
sports.
celebrities in this case.
Well, what else do
Celebrity
you do
judges.
when there are no PKs? I mean,
Well, you only have to deal with that for one more group. match.
You will admit that this wasn't like because this was the most watched soccer game in 6,000 years or something, right? Like in America. Like
Well,
I
it's
saw
the
the
most watched
stats.
game ever. Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go.
Ad infinitum.
But like, it's not like for the casual. It wasn't.
Wait,
it
does
wasn't.
that include World Cup finals?
Yes.
No, it's U.S. men's
Just
national
US,
team.
yeah.
U.S.
Oh.
men's national
Jessica,
team.
why did you make a face?
Ad infinitum.
Why?
Jesus.
Why was it ad infinitum?
I
Whittingham?
mean, because 6,000 years is limiting the scope. It's just ever.
Yeah.
It's just ever.
The country's not even close to 6,000 years old, so the exaggeration would have been fine.
ad infinitum, she felt it seemed like she had been hit in the side of the head with a
tampon.
wet fish.
I thought he misspoke.
Ad infinitum.
Hey, man pond.
I almost said God bless you.
I'm like, is Woody okay? Same.
But you'd agree that with the most watched game ever, right? Like you wouldn't want the casual walking away being like, "Nah, this was boring."
No,
Like, no, but it was boring.
You know what,
It was
though?
boring. Score
Watch the
some
game.
goals. Yeah, no, I watched it. I was like, come on, let's do something already.
I could see where someone comes off of that game saying that was
I
boring.
think
was
the
boring.
ending was boring. Like it felt like a letdown when the game ended, but it was an exciting match.
The guy with the dyed hair, does he practice like on bigger goals or something? He was kicking them into Jupiter. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Get
Weston
it inside the goal.
Weston McKennie had a few that flew into the stands.
But that's what
Okay.
happens when you're excited and you're young and you get a chance right in front of the
Compose
goal.
yourself.
That is so easy to fly over the net, and it takes a lot of finesse to get that thing in the goal.
Because in a 0-0 draw, when you say the other team severely outplayed the other team, right? What you're saying essentially is the United States choked. That's what you're saying. You're saying they
Yeah.
outplayed them, they didn't execute, they didn't put the ball in the net, and
Why-
you're saying they choked.
Why do I always have to put
Haven't
things
they
in
win
these
a
terms
game?
for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's
So guys,
fair.
This is what you
Well, if they
guys
outplayed them, they
but-
should have won the
but
game.
This is what you guys
I
are.
mean, he's not wrong. They should have won the game.
He's right, even.
The part that you're up
Thank
against,
you.
and this is where Stugotz
Surprised.
always wins, because Stugotz left here cackling over Thanksgiving, his greatest victories. Like, I'm going to just say USA, USA. I believe them to be the favorites. And when I get all the 0-0 games, I can then go back to making fun of soccer.
Yep.
Like, he could.
They are a lot tomorrow, Dano.
And so, Mike, what the losing argument for both Mike and Whittingham today that Billy and Stugotz will be able to cackle about, and no matter how much Chris Cody says, didn't you watch the game, is at the end of it, no goals scored, 0-0 drawn. That's pleasing to no one.
Unless you sort of understand the backdrop and the US's history against
Unless you
England.
know what you're talking about.
That's right, because England is much
I
better.
understand.
Because
I mean-
England is much better than the United States.
I think it was kind of disappointing because you go into an Iran match now, an Iran match, and you need. Why did I also repronounce match? So an Iran match.
You were fine the first
Yeah,
time.
I was.
Because you stumbled over Iran and
Well,
you made
because
it
yeah,
Iran.
sometimes I just go with Iran. Sometimes
This is the
it's
rare
Iran.
game 3 that's also a game 7. We can agree on that,
Yep.
right?
Everything's on the line, yeah.
There's a goal as South Korea scores. All right, 2-1 in that one. Both teams to score cashes. I would say that I'd much rather be playing Iran.
So bad.
I'd
So
much
good,
rather
though.
be playing
I
Iran
took it.
when I only need a draw. And I thought the U.S. should have pressed more late in that game against England for the result, for the winning result, because Iran's going to be really difficult to score on. And now, you know that the domino meme. Woody had this take yesterday when we were watching the game. You know the domino meme. The small domino is a 19-year-old admin for the U.S. men's Twitter account hitting that first domino, and the big domino is World War III. And that's what happened yesterday by an admin on Twitter not running anything by the government or the players and deciding to make a political statement by removing the Islamic Republic's logo from the Iranian flag. And now you have 19 and 21-year-old guys, although they should be able to answer these questions, having to be asked about this big geopolitical significance when someone was making a one-time statement that should have been in consultation with everybody.
But didn't U.S. Soccer have a statement that they put out with it? Like, it wasn't just one person on Twitter.
The way that I saw it happen was they were asked about it and they said it was a one-time show. And since then, all the flags have been restored. It was a one-time show of support for the women of Iran. And Iran is calling for the banishment of the U.S. from this tournament because there's an article in FIFA that says if you disrespect a flag, you're suspended 10 games. So Iran is obviously super insulted by this. The players had no idea this was coming.
Well,
So yet another layer of drama to a matchup that only the World Cup can provide, which is Iran versus U.S. with everything surrounding those two countries' politics.
Okay, Mike, so we cannot take the politics out of the sports no matter what angle we arrive at it from. You've seen the Netflix documentary about just how corrupt FIFA is. The idea that Qatar didn't exist and 10 years ago just had so much money that they built the stadiums, Stugotz, that would house this thing, and it was so corrupt that they moved it to winter because the conditions you could not play during the summer. That it's, I think, $7.5 billion to just FIFA for the rights to just put this in a place that doesn't make sense. And when I ask you this question, Stugotz, because they're doing morally abhorrent here as part of the post game, and they're covering all this stuff even as it's dirty. When I say to you thousands of migrant workers died according to Amnesty International, and there are questions about the numbers, but when I say they died in the construction of those stadiums to get to these games in a nowhere city invented for the purpose of just bribing this and becoming legitimate by hosting the world now with human rights atrocities all around them. When I say to you, much like with the Ray Rice video, hey, what do you think domestic abuse looks like? And then you see the video and you're like, oh, that's what it looks like. Thousands of migrant workers may have died in the building of those stadiums. What do you think that looks like?
What, the thousands of workers dying to provide us with a World Cup? What do I think it looks like? I think it looks disgusting.
No.
I think it looks gross. I think it looks like an event that should never have happened in that particular place.
I'm not asking you to have the moral outrage that everyone has about this because we all know the compromise we've made. We've done it in exchange for 0-0 draws. What I'm saying to you is physically, what do you imagine it looks like, thousands of workers dying? Because what it looks like is migrant slaves who don't have actual freedom, came from other countries thinking there was money there, living in slovenly conditions, washing out of toilets, ate to a room, dying in heat that was so oppressive that they had to wear garb because it was just burning their skin because it's so hot, and they die, and the numbers are skewed, and it's complicated because the Qatari government says it's, natural causes. And, this thing, it's awful. The death of these people by the thousands reportedly in the building of these stadiums, that's where we started. To invent a city that would be host to these games, as now the Saudis buy golf too, and this is how you get in the game, by just purchasing everybody, and we're going to celebrate the hell out of it if the United States scores a single goal against Iran.
Is Messi on Inter Miami, or what's going on with that? Like, what's happening there?
He said he hasn't agreed yet, right?
No, he's not on Inter Miami.
Oh.
He's on PSG.
Well, Twitter told me.
Twitter's been saying that. I've been telling you that for a couple of years, that the expectation is Messi comes this summer to Inter Miami. However, he is waiting to make a final decision
And
on
Ronaldo's out there, too. I mean, Inter Miami's going to be a
Ronaldo stuff.
juggernaut, huh? Messi, Ronaldo. I mean, this is going to be the center of soccer.
that. The Ronaldo stuff is not real.
What?
Huh?
Ronaldo stuff is not real. They're not signing Cristiano Ronaldo.
Well, they
Why
should.
not?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
Because they got to pay Lionel Messi.
Well, no, let's.
I mean,
You think they'll
hey,
shed their
Ronaldo.
spotlight? Cool.
I mean, why
Yeah.
Messi?
John Ruiz, can't he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
maybe,
What's
yeah.
Life Wallet up to? I mean, let's all pitch in. If we're gonna make soccer a thing, like everyone, soccer has our attention right now, right? The most watched game in the history of ad infinitum. Like, let's have everybody come here. Let's build this stadium once and for all. And then have these two guys team up and join forces, and let's make Inter Miami a thing.
Messi's not enough. You want more than that.
Well, yeah.
Mike Ryan's been
Go
telling
big
you
or
for
go
years.
home.
Mike Ryan's been
Do
telling you
you not
for
want them
years.
on the same team?
I just think I think you're blowing past Mike Ryan wanting the credit for being the one who's reported before everyone. This report has come out a dozen times since Mike Ryan reported it. Why is no one giving Mike Ryan the credit on
Well, because he just said that they're not.
Messi to Miami?
He said he's not on Miami.
He's not
Right.
on Miami.
Yeah.
But Mike's reporting that it might happen. I'm reporting that both Messi and Ronaldo will play for Inter Miami.
That's how you
How
do
about
it.
that? Hmm?
That's going to be good.
This
Can't
Iran-U.S. preview really took a lot of turns.
Why can't they be on the same team?
Which one would you rather have?
Oh, yeah. Classic Marino Montana here.
That actually is the Marino
Messi,
Montana of the world, really.
Yeah,
I know.
right?
Messi, go ahead.
Messi or
Mike
Ronaldo.
Ryan, can you get me the sound from the full cast, folks? Because Stugotz, we're going to make some fun of you here.
Great.
Because for years you have been crushing Harbaugh. What's he ever done? Fire him. Get rid of him. You don't wait this out. Fraud. Harbaugh's terrible. And Harbaugh, with a lesser team and lesser players by every evaluation that the scouts would give you, just dragged Ohio State with the remnants of whatever, lead on the conference Urban Meyer bestowed upon them years ago. And so here's Spencer Hall, and this is After Dark, the podcast with Meadowlark Media after midnight, and he's gone insane because it's the emotion and the intoxicants of college football. This is crazy talk from Spencer Hall because Ohio State's supposed to be better, and they just got dragged by 3 touchdowns.
Ryan Day, how do you have that much talent and you don't know what to do on 3rd and 3? It's wild to me. It should be that easy. Run the touchdown play. You have better players. Dare them to play one-on-one with the guys who aren't as good. Get arrogant. The lack of arrogance is insane to me. Because that's all I hear from Ohio State fans, is how you should be more respected, how your program should do more. You have like 5,000 first-round picks. Ari Wasserman pointed out on Twitter that you guys have like 10 more 5-star recruits than Michigan does. Where were any of them in the 4th quarter? Getting trampled by a guy with one hand who wasn't even the starting running back. At home, you have that big stupid flagpole and you invite everyone to come in and look at your teeny little fascist auditorium that you call a stadium in your sad sweatshirts and your absolute bullshit traditions, and you embarrass yourselves. I get to say all of this because none of you believed me. None of you. You're not even fun to go back and forth with. You're just dull. You're duller to want respect.
Well, this is going well. This is going well.
Go get thrown out of a 24-hour fitness again.
You can't. It's always open. How could they throw you out?
We'll see. That's the problem. You throw them out, they come back in.
They go to the one across town.
They go to Planet Fitness. They set off the lunk alarm. They get thrown out again. They sit in the car and they're like, "I'm thinking about Debbie. I shouldn't have screwed that up."
Fullcast After Dark. Stugotz, who's going to end up being the 4 teams?
I can tell you this. I don't want to hear from anybody that Ohio State still deserves to be in. They say themselves, okay? Ryan Day says it. The team says it. It's all about Michigan. It's all about Michigan. This season comes down to one game, the game against Michigan. Every season comes down to one game, the game against Michigan. They had their chance at home, and they got drubbed. And Ohio State, because the rest of the schedule, Dan, is not great. It's not. I mean, they beat Notre Dame, and that's fine, and Notre Dame's turned out to be a pretty decent team. But the rest of the schedule is pretty average. They had one job this season, to beat Michigan at home. They had their opportunity. They failed. They should not be the 4th team in the college football playoff. I think Alabama's getting in. Saban had a weekend. Saban had a weekend. Clemson lost. LSU lost. I mean, Saban had another weekend where if USC loses or if TCU loses, Nick Saban's getting in with 2 losses. He had a great joke after the Auburn game. He had a cut on his eye. He was bleeding. All the teams he needed to lose, they lost. What a great weekend for Nick Saban. I like Nick Saban.
That whole take was just to set up. I want Alabama to get in as the 4th team.
I do too. I do too. I want them to win the national championship.
Yeah, me too. Yes.
I want them to win the whole thing.
What is wrong with you guys? We celebrated the death of the Pages in the local hour. 2-loss Alabamas. Get them out of my life.
No,
They're gone.
I like Alabama now.
No.
I like them.
Yeah.
Billy, you feel bad for the Patriots and you're rooting for Alabama.
Yeah, I like Saban.
Who are you?
Lovable Underdog.
Saban and Belichick documentary.
I'm
Did
telling
a number
you.
on this guy.
Here's the question, though. How are they going to jump Ohio State? Because they don't play again.
It can't. They lost twice, and Ohio State lost to what will probably be, if not the number 2, then maybe even the number 1 team in the country.
Ohio State is, but they're done playing as well.
I know, but they've got 1 loss. Alabama's got 2.
I understand that, okay? But, Billy, here's how it happens.
Okay.
Because Ohio State's not getting in. I don't care.
Okay, good.
Okay? They don't deserve to be in. They had their chance. They blew it.
They're probably going to get in.
Oh, no, he said they're
USC
not.
loses in the Pac-12 championship game or Endor. Because both of these
That's
things
an
could
Amin
happen.
thing, yeah.
TCU loses in the Pac-12 championship game, then Alabama gets in. If both those teams lose, they're getting in. If one team loses, they deserve to be in. I'm not certain they'll get in, but they deserve to be in.
Stugotz, what if Michigan loses to Purdue in the
was
Big Ten championship game?
Because then that loss for Ohio State looks even worse.
Yeah.
Because they lose to a team by almost 30 that also lost to Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
So then
not going to happen, though.
Michigan and Ohio State might be out then, and then you're looking at Alabama and Tennessee getting
What
in?
if LSU still beats Georgia in the SEC championship game?
Wow.
That works against Saban. That would work because
Really?
Georgia's still going to get in. Yes. Georgia has to.
But then Ohio State has to get in.
Ohio State's not getting in. I don't care what anyone tells me.
Really?
They don't deserve to get in. They were blown out at home by Michigan, who was without their best offensive player. They don't deserve to get in. Nope. The Buckeyes are done.
What is this? I don't care what anyone tells me. Soon they will just tell you who's in the playoff. Like, what do you mean? I don't care what anyone tells me.
I don't have to accept their rankings.
That's true.
I don't have to accept their playoff.
okay.
If Ohio
He's
State
right.
gets in,
I mean,
listen up,
okay.
committee. I'm not watching.
Okay.
How's that sound?
All right.
You should
Okay?
make your own playoff
You're
and
gonna
invite all
penal-
the 4 teams to your own playoff.
Listen, you're going to penalize Alabama for having a 3-point loss at Tennessee with their quarterback coming off, missing 2 weeks, coming back, played a great game. They lost by 3 points to Tennessee. Tough place to play.
The
and then
rankings,
at LSU,
Stugotz,
a very difficult place to play.
The
They lost
rankings,
by a point.
Stugotz, the rankings can't every year just be Stugotz knows Alabama's really good.
They can and they should be.
Yeah.
That's basically what they are. I mean,
They'd
they
be
give,
the favorites.
They give higher, like, quote unquote, higher pedigree teams better rankings
So
week after week,
stupid.
year after year as is.
It is so stupid that you're all in agreement now with Nick Saban as lovable underdog.
Oh, I love that guy.
That you guys are all in agreement. We'd all rather watch Alabama. We don't want to watch
It's the best
TCU.
4 teams. You know Alabama's going to play a tough game against any of those 4 teams that make it. Would you put if you put Alabama and TCU against each other next week? Who's the favorite? Who's
Jessica,
the betting favorite?
Bama would be a
Jessica.
14-point
100%.
favorite.
I mean, right. Alabama would be 14-point favorites. That's not the point of why we watch football for 3 months.
I don't know.
The point of football
What's
for
the
3 months
point?
is not just let's all watch this thing and then at the end decide Alabama's better than all of them because I saw them in a game.
No,
once.
Chris Whittingham, the committee says every year their goal is to put the best 4 teams in.
Right.
And they make choices inexplicably sometimes where you think they're probably just going off vibes here. This would be a vibe-based choice, and it might not be the wrong one because
So
Alabama, the 2 games that they've lost have been extremely
How far
close.
would I have to push it then? If they lost another game, if they lost to Texas A&M by a field goal,
Well,
as
they
they
didn't.
almost I'm saying, how far would I have to make it if Alabama were 8-4? But
They almost lost to Texas. They almost lost to
Right.
Texas A&M.
If they
Is
lost,
Bryce
if they,
Young healthy?
yes,
Like, I need to know.
If they lost all of those games, if they were 9-3, if they were 8-4, if they were 7-5, would you still say that Alabama should get in over TCU?
Yeah,
Now
over
you're
TCU,
creating
yeah.
an argument that we're not even making. We're talking about this year's Alabama teams, the games that they've lost, the games that they've won, the quarterback that won the Heisman last year that's been hurt most of the season, and the fact that we know they can play any of the 4 teams that can
We
make it in
finally
the playoff
got here.
hard.
Jessica, I am thrilled that you got us here because we are finally in the place where we can all acknowledge, hey, this is just craps and giggles semi-pro ball. And we think the 4 best teams, Alabama's always one of them, so we'll always put Alabama in because we're all right about that. We don't know shit about what college kids are going to do from Saturday to Saturday. Clemson this week did the play I want them doing all the time. They're up 2 scores, and they say we're going to receive the kickoff, and we're going to do the huddle in the middle of the field, and you don't know who has the football. It's just 5 of our guys in a cluster. I want entire
They got cute.
they got cute and they fumbled, and then they lose the game by a score. But I want everyone to have fun, and we all know that if Alabama's in the game, we want to watch it at our party.
Yes, and it's not because I hate all of the remaining top 6 teams that can make it in the playoff. with a burning passion. It's not because most of them are rivals of the college that I went to, and it's not because the fact that if any of them won, it would make me want to literally cry and scream into a pillow for the next 8 months. It's because I think Alabama is probably one of the best 4 teams in the country.
Yeah.
But they always are. Yeah. And they will be for each of the next 10 years. Why even play the games? Just put them in the fun. We'll take it that way, too.
But, Dan, they be favored over Michigan. They be favored over USC. The only team they're not favored against is Georgia. And that's debatable. I mean,
well, but again, they when I say they almost lost, it was a play in both the games against Texas and Texas A&M that didn't turn out to be any good. Alabama's got a impressive victory on their schedule, and
Texas. That's probably one of
with their backup quarterback.
State, maybe Mississippi State's ranked, I think, still.
Mississippi.
It's not a great Alabama team. You guys are basically putting them in on reputation. It's not even this year's team
what
that
do you
you're
think
doing
the committee
it on.
does?
I mean, but Texas,
what do you think the preseason ranking AP rankings, which have a huge effect on the midseason AP poll rankings, by the way? What do you think they do? They put Notre Dame 5 this year with.
Put Miami 16.
They put Miami 16. They put a bunch of teams in that just go off of vibes from the season
Mike,
before, even though the rosters change.
TCU could have lost to Texas. They could have lost to Baylor. Michigan could have lost to Illinois. Like, there's lots of teams there that could have lost to other teams.
Miami lost to Pitt 16-42 this weekend.
Yeah, this is where I say that Mike has
16 was the preseason
skated.
ranking, by the way.
Mike, Miami loses.
Enough blood this month? Sure. What do you need?
Tampon?
Man pond.
He's still skating.